are facing, we also try to look at what can we do? What can we do and how can we make their lives better so that tomorrow we have a better world? So I want to appreciate every one of you for being part of making the world a better place and making sure that the boy is well taken care of. My name is Faith Nashipai. I am the Men and Boys Ambassador. I am from Thriving Communities Africa, an organization that I lead in engaging men and boys for better societies. And I am happy to be your moderator of the day. I want to invite my friend and my good colleague, Ola, a wonderful partner that we've walked this journey with, to give us a little bit of some welcoming speech so that we can proceed with our program. Karibu, Ola.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you, everyone. What a day. I want to appreciate you, Faith, for accepting to be part of this global discourse. All of the time, especially when we have tight schedules. I really appreciate your work with the men and boys in Kenya. And I want to thank everyone who is joining us for this Zoom call, this panel discussion. It's really a very great joy, and I am pleased, I am happy. I want to thank you for investing your time and your resources to be part of this public discourse on boys and sexuality, culture, nature, and nurture. Boys Mentoring Advocacy Network is a non-governmental organization with international outreaches in different parts of the world. Incorporated in Nigeria and also in the US. Our goal is very simple: mentoring boys and empowering generations. Because what I do believe is our boys are the greatest assets we have in our country. And we should continually look at them as assets and resources, and not problems and liabilities. Our boys are like mirrors. They just reflect to us the exact thing we see. And that's what brought about the global conversation called Boys Future, Boys Challenge. This is actually a space for stakeholders, educators, mentors that want to be part of the change or transformation, development of our boys to become a responsible global citizens. So that being said, this mission has helped us as an organization to have a critical look into boys and sexuality. This is often a huge topic that we don't want to discuss, and we need to start to talk about it. I remember the first time when I brought up this topic and I shared with Faith, and he said, Ola, I want to moderate this talk. And it was very, very daring for her because it's a big concern. We see the perception our boys do hold or have about sexuality. So we want to really, from your personal experience as men that will discuss this topic today, and from the culture where you are from, we want to really explore what is it like about boys and their sexualities. So that being said, you are all welcome for these great discussions. I look forward to learning from all of you. And I know Dr. Cantata is in, that is going to take the synopsis, the recap of today's event and make it a public one for us. So we thank you. We really appreciate you for joining us in these conversations. Sit right, enjoy the conversations, and let's have a great time together. Faith, I hope you give us the best of your moderating today. You're welcome. Thank you all. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I hear you.
Thank you. Awesome. This has been a monthly journey, and we truly appreciate you, Ola, for keeping the fire burning and keeping us, keeping the foot on the pedal and making sure that we are all connected to you. Gentlemen, I notice I don't have a lady. If I have, please raise your hand and just say hi. But this is about our sons. Many times, I am a mother of 3 boys. And one of the challenges that I get to experience even in my practice as a counseling psychologist is when I'm talking to young boys, even in our schools, you realize that a boy has had his sex debut at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, and you wonder, where is the world getting to? Then again, we look at the issues that we are facing today with a lot of teenage pregnancies. And when I listen to people, they say, these are peer pregnancies. So I'm at the place where really talking about the sexuality of the boy and getting to learn about the sexuality of the boy is critical to the development of our world. I keep saying we need to train our sons how to hold the sperm. Realize that achievements of a man is to learn how to control his sexual appetite. If we can train this to our sons, we shall have saved our world, the big population that is bulging of single motherhood. Dear gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, she froze a bit.
Yeah, she's frozen. I guess it's the network from our end. And if this happens, we may need to continue to have. Faith, are you back? Can you hear me?
When they go on audio only, it's a bandwidth problem. So possibly she should turn off her video and her audio will be just fine.
Send her a text message through the.
Okay. Okay. I'm just make my Faveros with the frog a co-host.
All right. Well, gentlemen, first of all, we really did not make an introduction. I would like to really begin to know all of you because I have not met any of you except my son Ola. So if we could just start, and I'll call you out as I see you on the screen, but the first person that keeps us all together is Ishmael. Ishmael, please tell us where you're from now.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Ishmael. I am from PA. I'm on part of the Real Dads Network. Also, the guy behind the scene, the tech guy for when Ola bring everyone together, Zoom, and I'm just happy to be a part of this monthly experience.
Thank you, Ishmael. You do a great job, and we all appreciate you keeping us in line and all attached. Jerome, if you could unmute yourself and tell us where you're from.
Yes, I'm Jerome Matias. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, in the Caribbean, but I've been living in the US for about almost 25 years now. And I'm a graphic designer, web developer, and artist and author, self-published on Amazon. So yeah, that's it.
That's great. Welcome. It's good to have you with us.
Good to meet you.
Obed, I only see your first name there, or is that your last name? You're muted, Obed. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. My name is Obed Munge. Munge is my second name of my surname. I come from Kenya. I'm the program director for Living Communities Africa with my colleague Frida Nashipai. I'm a proud son of Kenya, and one of the people who are really working hard to ensuring that our sons get a dignified life, and we have the best version of the sons of tomorrow. It is my pleasure to be with you this evening, and looking forward to our wonderful experience from each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Obed. Yeah, I look forward to an enlightening conversation, since we do represent so many cultures. It's wonderful. Now I'm going to try to pronounce this name. Is it Thangarasu?
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Could you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Tangaraj from India, actually. I'm by profession, I'm a professor, currently working as a principal for an engineering college, and I'm for the cause of youth of the entire world, and I'm also grooming 2 of my children for their life, and I would like to be one of the part of us. Ola has invited me. It is very, very, very exciting to be within the group where the societal interest is higher, and I would like to thank Ola for this, and my dear friend Sharmi for this. Thank you, my dear friends. I am with you for grooming our boys, our own children. It is all our own children. Only because of them we live. Only for them we live. True. Actually, the nation is at their hands for every day. Every day it goes on. I am running 4950. The youngsters have to take over from us. This is where we stand with right now.
Well, we look forward to your contribution, and as with everyone, when we finish speaking, can I remind you to mute yourself, so we don't get the feedback and whatnot. Mensidisi, come on. Well, I met you the last time, and as you will be doing the wrap up and taking good notes, are you there that you can introduce yourself on camera? Mensidisi. You might not be able to hear us right now. All right. Ola, who are the other Can you see? Is there any Oh, Mendes, there you are. Metsidisi.
Can you see me?
We can see you and we can hear you. Just introduce yourself, please.
Okay, good day, everyone. My name is Mncedisi Mambane. I am from South Africa. I am an activist. I am a student at the University of Johannesburg studying or majoring in psychology and strategic communication as a discipline. I am also an agent of change. I will be talking about sexual aggregation and violence in bonds.
Mendicini, we're just doing introductions right now.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to make sure from Ola that we have introduced the panelists. Everyone else who is joining us, welcome. We look forward to having your questions and answers after we hear from the panelists. So,
so the panelists, we have Jerome, we have Dr. Tanga Rasu, we have Obed, and we have Mensidisi. Dave is out for now because he has to join other meetings, our engagement. So starting this conversation, then if we go through the order of events, what we have now is Obed taking on the role of sex in masculinity. That's in the absence of Dave, and by the time we have Faith back, she can give us more of insight into the topic. So after Mr. Obed is Dr. Professor Tangarasu, followed by Mensidisi, and we now have Jerome, and Dr. Cantata will be giving us a recap of this discussion, which is the, and we close the event from there.
all right. So we begin then with Obed. We look forward to hearing from you. Go.
Obed, the floor is yours. The discussion is yours, Obed, and welcome.
I'm grateful this afternoon, this evening, and I am glad that it's the opportunity for us to listen to what young men in Kenya, particularly within the regions that we've been working, have been going through. And I was given a topic to actually look at our the sexuality among the boys, and in respect to their culture, nature, and nasha. And Striving Communities Africa, we are an organization that purely working on the space of men, and we are actually reaching out to men in terms of ensuring that we get the best version of a man with a very nice program called Nitasimama Imara, which is a Swahili phrase meaning standing firm against all for something. Looking at the topic today, and looking at where we are coming from, and looking at what my colleague previously said, that we must take care of our future DNAs, and we must be very careful because of the influences that are coming towards our world, and of course looking at what is good for our next generation. According to WHO, we are always told, we've been told that various ill health in sexual related issues affect women more than men. However, what we are never told is that men are the contributors of these issues to women in different ways, because men have been formulated to become the kind of people and the kind of masculinity in respect to where they come from. And when we look at the definition of now the gender in respect to sex, and we look at what people really talk about, all these components, then we are left wondering, are we getting it right or are we getting wrong? I would want to look at what sexuality is all about in respect to our culture, in most of our local communities, and in respect to Amakikuyu, I work with very close to Pokomo, Pokoti, the Eregio Marakwet, the Baringo, the Kalenjins, the Maasais, the Kamba, and the coastal people. And when you look at all this diversity and wealth of all these kind of people, and then look at the concept of the boys and how they are brought up in respect to their culture, then we are likely going to identify ourselves in various forms, whereby as young men growing up after the rite of passage, that is approximately at age 14 and thereabout, most of our young men go through the rite of passage, that is circumcision, and we are taught a lot of issues. And at this stage, we are told that what men need to become, what need not to become, and we are informed by values. And because of that, our identity in terms of sex is informed not by the biological processes, but by the environmental factors that are forcing things into our lives. And because of this, our young men are lost. Our young people are misguided. And there is a common phrase that is all over, where we are given the knowledge of man can see, man can do. So you notice that the behavior, the sexual behavior of a man is easily adoptable by a teenage boy or a young boy who sees how the father behaved from a tender age to the growth. This might subject our sons into various ecological issues and threats that again, very, very, very worrying. And from experience, and I will quote areas that we've done our program, the Mama Imara, where you look at a young man who has gone under the cut and has been given this kind of status by the people taking care of them, that young men should not obey, should not be very, should actually dishonor women who have not gone through the FGM or who have not gone through the cut. A son who has gone through the circumcision cannot eat food not cooked by a woman who have undergone the FGM. This is retrogressive. This is something that is quite hurting in terms of looking at the future of our generation and what needs to be done. And this becomes a psychological distortment in the mind of this boy and in the mindset of the young person as he grows into the identity of I am a young man, I want to become a father. So the kind of a father that then we see inside this young boy is the father with a lot of bitterness, a father who has a lot of past history, unjustifiable lifestyle that he is going to likely pass through to the next generation and to the other generation. Again, when we come to our central region, that is central Kenya, where gender-based violences again are very common, where men fight their wives, where wife battering is a common practice, where substance use and alcohol becomes a central theme, and fighting is a necessity in the day. It is something that is done by several, which is happening in several households. Then we realize that the son or the young man runs that actually coming home drunk, beating my wife, harassing my children is a practical way of doing things. So again, psychologically, the young boy is distorted and actually suffers a lot from a lot of other quarters. Then when you look at The environmental factors, again, in our region, we are experiencing a lot of westernized culture, whereby same-sex marriages is becoming a talk of the day. We have young men adopting to that identity because of the environment, because of the nurture, and because people are talking about us identifying, or it is my inner feeling. And what is worrying us and the thread in our community and in our culture today is, where will our next generation come from? What is happening if we allow this to continue? It's something that is worrying. And I'm aware, if nothing is done, in the next 10, 15 years, when our teenage boys that we are targeting, who are 15 years, if they are not nurtured, and then they decide not to get married, and they want to marry same-sex partners, then I see a situation whereby a generation permanently is lost. And I would want to have a young man and understand sex from the biological component, that sex is meant, or sexuality is meant for reproductive purposes. That is for the next generation. It is for us to create that generation that is forthcoming, and that we'll be able to look at our issues. So in short, what I mean from this component, I'm looking at psychological factors that influence our sexuality, including our emotions, our attitudes, and the motivations of how we identify ourselves. Then I want to look at social conditioning, and of course, looking at the environmental factors. Why do I identify myself as a man? How do I reflect inside me? What dictates this kind of impact inside of me? And finally, looking at biological hormones. Why am I a man? Through the hormonal experiences, and maybe desire to become what I want to look at to become. When I look at the cultural factors that are again contributing towards the gender, the sexual aspect of a boy, then I want to look at the gender role in our community. How is this gender role affecting us? When we look at gender binary, when we look at things like relationships and dynamics in the relationships, when I look at the self-image, then all these things are now things the young men need to define and understand. Yes, I want to become, because this is who I perceive myself to be according to my culture. Then you look at the religion. The role of the religion again is playing in all these issues. What is the extent, to what extent is the religion defining my sex and my gender? Then am I swifting with culture? Because there are various taboo, like a Kikuyu. I am trained that same-sex marriage is abnormal, is a taboo. It's something that unheard of, something that is culturally punishable. But when we look at the Western culture, the modern culture, then something different and definition of the same. At this juncture, we lose our boys. Then I want to look at the issue of the nature of our gender. And when we look at the nature of our gender, then I'm looking at my body structure. And I'm looking at this young man who has been given a lot of distorted information. He looks at the social media and he's able to look at what people say about a man who has a character of a woman. And this young boy is confused because he understands when he looks at his genitalia, he's able to identify, yes, I am a man, but how comes that other man is talking of being a woman or being a she? Then this brings a lot of issues when we look at the primary sex character in our younger generation. Then when we look at the secondary sexual characteristics, whereby we are looking at the primary, we have what is visible, what is the inside. And then when we look at what is in the outside, and sometimes what people talk about, and this information is all over in our social media, all over in our mainstream, and it's all over. The young people.
Brother
Yes.
Obed, if you could give us just 2 more minutes so we can go on to the next person. And then we'll have more opportunity to continue discussing all of these wonderful topics. But if you could begin your last 2 minutes, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. So in summary, when we look at all what is happening to our young men and look at genetic factors and misconceptions or myths and factors attributing to it, then we see an opportunity where we are losing our men. When you look at the personality and the ability to identify, then we realize at that juncture again, we are losing the boy. When you look at the upbringing of our children and our sons, when we have dysfunctional families and environmental factors surrounding the son or the boy, then we see opportunities of losing the boy. Then when you look at the societal influences and factors associated to that, then we identify another opportunity of losing the boy. So what do I conclude? I think we need to look at interventions that can work as we forge forward in helping our young men. Number one, identify, because of our geographical backgrounds, identify modalities and methods of doing things that attract the young men. Could be identified games and sports, or activities that involve men and women, young men and fathers, so that we can inform and shape them. Two, looking at socio-cultural factors and things that need to be moderated through the socio-cultural concepts, so that we are able to help our young men come to speed and to understanding of what is going around us. And finally, ensuring accurate, verifiable sexual education at all times, either through our social media platforms, the magazines, the newsletters, and anything that is out there, so that we have the accurate, verifiable information that will be passed even to younger generations years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Obed. Much appreciated. Excellent, excellent questions and a good focus for where we're going. As I understand what you're saying, there are influences that our boys fall under. And when we don't have the parents involved, for whatever reason, in whatever culture, we then are, the winds of culture, wherever they are going to take our boys with that, rather than with an understanding that, as you have said, that sex and sexuality is essentially designed not for its pleasure, but for procreation, for creating our next generation. And to hold that sexual act as something supreme and therefore something worth waiting for. Nobody teaches that anymore. How do we begin that within our cultures? How do we build the family so that can happen? These are all great questions. And we appreciate, thank you, Obed, for bringing all of these up. Dr. Tarangasu, you are up next. And from what I understand, we are looking at the potential psycho-emotional impact of early uninformed sexual activity.
Yeah.
Go for it. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Can you permit me to present my slides, Mr. Vola? Please, my slides are not coming up. Mr. Vola,
You are
could
muted.
you hear me?
Ola, you are muted.
I've just made you a co-host. You should be able to share your slide now.
Yes, try it now.
Is it so? Okay. Let me start talking. Let the slide come later. It's indeed a happy occasion to share the platform. Thanks to all my dear friends here. I am a father of two younger generation boy and a girl. I am happy that I could could you do it, sir? It's not coming. No problem. Let me go on with that. All of you can hear me.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yeah. Shall I proceed with this until you make it all right?
Well, begin
Shall I
speaking
proceed?
and yeah, share with us your thoughts and your information, and then as appropriate, go ahead and
what should I do now? What a parent should do. That's what my general agenda today. However, what really the adolescent, the person who actually enters into teenage, receives generally a cultural change. Actually, he receives a cultural change by physical, behavioral, peer group. Everywhere he sees changes, drastic changes. Those changes actually leading him either to good things or bad things. It is not good and bad here. Sexual understanding is required. He starts to understand, the boy, we are talking about boys, our own boys, right? He should really understand that he has become eligible as a man. He is slowly becoming eligibility. He crosses the eligibility requirements. What makes him eligible? What makes him more comfortable is that he sees lot of changes in his body, generally physical changes. All these physical changes are making him enthusiastic towards his life. But generally, when the teenage happens or the adolescence happens, it is the age wherein the person, the boy, has to build his career, has to start learning about things, learning about a lot of things. Lot of things means, especially on becoming a father, becoming a masculine man. He sees different things like I need the help of my slides. If it is not feasible, let me go through the slides, right? He sees that as a chance to make himself fit. He started to gain stresses, lot of stresses. He starts to gain lot of stresses. Now he has made me co-host. Thank you, Ola. Till now, it is not, my screen is not been shared now. Okay, let me go with the presentation. I had prepared some slides. It is not coming up. I'll send it to you through some other social media, even by mail, so that we can go on with that, right?
Thank you.
You can email it to us.
Yeah, definitely, sir. I'll share it through WhatsApp even. No issues. Kindly share it to all our audiences, even the boys. So they are into the boy is into a shock. Generally, it's a cultural shock. There is a change. He's been respected. He's been given his space. He's been, or otherwise, he is taking his space. He is been bullied. He is under different depressions, different levels of psychological affections, cyber addictions. He starts to drink. He starts to date. He starts to go with girlfriends. He starts to understand girl is different and boy is different, and he starts to develop his own masculinity. There is peer pressure which drives many issues into a boy, generally a boy. Lot of behavioral changes happens. He becomes emotional, more and more emotional. He starts to impulsive replies. He starts with his impulsive reply, and for his beliefs, he stands out for his beliefs. He becomes brainy, moody, tired, and it is very difficult to deal with. The parents are finding it very difficult to deal with. Whereas it comes to physical changes, you can see his changes is actually his changes in the muscle, in the puberty level changes that drives him more into sexual desires. He grows up with facial hair are setting up, and he sees his own friend for the yesteryear, friend of yesteryear, as a companion. Generally, as a friend is slowly becoming girlfriend. Girl is a friend, but here girlfriend is different, and he becomes up with lot of drives, and he starts to think. Otherwise, he is getting more of emotional. He has to go through different emotions like happiness, excited, angry, excitements, angry, vulnerable for crying. He starts to cry on his point. When his point is hurt, when he is hurt, he starts to cry. These are all the growing stages of his masculinity. That is where the parents need to put a lot of efforts, lot of care to groom himself into a man where everybody accepts him as a man in the common forums. So he becomes conscious. He gets into mood swings. He crosses the puberty. In that line, he enjoys his superiority or inferiority amongst his friends, amongst his peer group, and he develops sexual feelings in that age, which might even end up with a sense of guilt. That is to be prevented by the parenthood. Parent has to take care. My general, I was prepared. I was prepared to address larger audience of boys. That is where I was about to give inputs. However, it is a very good panel, so that I'm giving. He needs to be groomed in a way that he is a self-managed person. The boy has to self-manage himself by societal requirements, cooperative requirements within the peer group, and emotional resilience. Lot of skills that you need to develop like he is a taskmaster. It is not. It is not only the life. It is beyond life. He becomes a taskmaster, and he is a innovative person because his innovative thinking starts to develop by 13 years, or it should hold good, or he can understand more and more things only during 13 to 18 years. This is where we need to ask him, who are you? As a part of it, as a part of grooming him, we need to ask him, who are you? You indirectly, it is not that a straight question is to be posted to him. A parent has to ask lot of who are your questions. In this point, how you will react. In this point, how you can react. Likewise, the parents or the people, those who are around him, has to ask lot such questions to make him understand that what he is actually. A teen's brain always looking for these kind of things: a self-inquiry, self-awareness, self-discovery, and self-acceptance. He has to accept himself as a human being, generally a masculine, a bigger man, or a man who can lead things. Self-love, he has to love himself, he has to love his body, he has to love his things, he has to love his way of doing things. He need to respect himself. That is called self-respect. Self-mastery, he has to be mastering himself. That is where I told you that I've given you that he has to manage himself. Self-realize, he has to completely realize himself. That is where, that is the period where the teenage happens, or the teenage has to give all these things. A big saying goes like that: a teenager's brain has well-developed accelerator, but only a partly developed brake. So we all know that they are in need of brakes, lot of brakes, but calculated brakes are to be given to him in all the facets of his life. It is not that in one way by his decision making. Say, for example, I'm giving a decision making skill is to be impounded in him by the parents, by the peer, by the surrounded people. He has to creatively think. He has to creatively do a lot of things. He has to be empathical. He has to be effective communicator. Lot of things that he had to groom. And when it comes to sex, one has to understand nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect.
Doctor,
When it comes to sex,
please begin your wrap up. Please begin your summation.
Yeah, I understand. If nobody is perfect, that means you have to allow his errors. You have to take care of his errors and correct him when and where it is required. An advisory kind of a forum like this has to do some corrective works. He will definitely develop a romantic relationship with a with one or two, with his own peer, right? Generally, and a friendship really can be developed in that time. It has to give sharing effects, or he has to share the feelings of him. He has to understand, and he has to support. One has to support. One should be supported again, and he will start to date now. In this age, he'll definitely start to date, but he should understand what are the effects of date after date. What are the effects that he impounds into a girl is to be understood by him. That is to be educated. That instead of dating, or it can be done, it is there, you cannot simply change it, but that has to be developed as a positive peer relationship. When it comes to sex, yes, we are all meant for reproducing. What do you call, it has to be then only the humankind can live for years together. This is how we have come up, only because of the sperm and egg. But female needs female needs a protection there, or a man should take righteous decision or informed decision. If it is uninformed about sex, then he lands up into lot of wrong ends. When he thinks that sex is a proof of adulthood, that is wrong actually. It is not the proof. And he might think that the more parents that I have, the more masculine I become, the more partners I have. He feels like that more partners if he has, he feels that he is the masculine. Not like that. It has to be given as a treatment to him, or otherwise it has to be given as a not in a nutshell. He has to be treated. He has to be given correct education on how to become masculine. Then he wants to become. He should not think that being virgin, it is not good to be virgin. He should not think that like that. He should not think in that direction. And he should not always be given in information, wrong information, that everyone is having sex. No, not like that. It is time or chance has to decide, but he has to say, he should have the correct attitude to say no to it when it is not required, when it is not at all warranted, when he is not informed only.
Yeah.
And it should not.
Doctor, may I interrupt you? Apologies.
Please.
For reasons of timing and for including everyone else.
Yeah, I understand.
You've ended at a very important point, but we'll contribute at the end with more discussion. But the point that you just ended in is that there needs to be some influence whereby the boy who is empowered by the hormones is somehow able to say no to the impulse for the greater good. And somehow they need to understand that, and that's what we are dealing with. Ola, yeah, we need to encourage that.
Shall I complete in 1 minute? 1 minute, Professor.
Okay, 1 minute. Take your 1 minute.
1 minute. We need to move on.
But wherever he is not saying no, and he goes on indulging into a sexual activity that ends with a teenage pregnancy. That is the hazardous thing that should not happen, or that should be minimized. It is happening. You cannot simply change it on a single day, but it is happening. It ends up with health risks, education interruption, maternal mortality, premature birth, and stillbirth. There is birth. All these things are happening with the women just because of the ignorance of the boy. Or he should be educated in a way that he should not simply ignore all these after effects. Thank you. These are all to be educated to him. That is where I stand.
You've said very, very important things, and thank you. It all needs to be addressed, and it's almost overwhelming. Looking at the reality in front of us, that boys always look for an example to follow, and there is rarely a father that steps up to become that example. And so they find examples in social media, in the world around them. And I'm sad to say, as things get more westernized, they become more out of control. So now our next speaker,
in India, you can see the age of first sex is above 14, 15.
Yes, sir.
Whereas in the rest of the world, it is different, 9, 10, 11. So it's disturbing.
It's very different. But depending on the culture, we need to provide our young boys with examples that they value. All right. So with that said, Ola, our next speaker, I would be glad to turn it back to Faith since she is with us. However, our next speaker was going to be Mendisadisi, and I don't see him on. So we can go we can go straight to Jerome, who's been waiting so patiently. So with your approval, Ola, let's go ahead and do that. And Jerome,
That's
Well-
okay. That's okay, Fox.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I'll just go ahead and continue. Jerome,
Thank
the
you.
floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to share my screen at some point. I don't know if it's possible, but in any way, I will begin. So I'm going to be speaking about the role of culture in nurturing sexual behavior and dealing with love, crushes, and dating. So trying to differentiate and define the difference between what is a crush, what is dating, and what is love. Sometimes they merge or they they seem, sometimes we confuse one with the other,
Mhm.
in our natural daily lives, and as young men, and growing up, we may have feelings for a young lady or something. We may have a crush, and we may say, oh, I love her. We may be dating, and you may be trying to get to know someone, and maybe you don't love them yet, but you may be dating, but you also love the person. So yeah, so I'm just going to go right into it. Let me see, am I able to share my screen yet?
Yeah, I just make you a co-host.
You did, maybe, cool. Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, there we go. I can share my screen. And let me see if I picked the right. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Perfect, perfect,
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
Okay. Okay, so this is my slides here. So I'm just going to go straight into it. This is me here. So dealing with, young boys, it's really easy for young boys to, and even, grown men, to, be infatuated with someone, whether it's someone we know or we met in person, or it could be a celebrity, someone famous, or someone just someone we see, in our daily routine or whatever. And so I have here, in columns here. So in the first one, I have a crush. A crush is basically a strong feeling of romantic love for someone that is usually not expressed and is not usually a long-lasting feeling. And then we have dating, irregular, which is to regularly spend time with someone that you intend to have a romantic relationship with. And then we have love, which is defined as a profoundly tender and passionate affection for another person. Okay. So just my next slide here, kind of elaborating. So this here is just one of my illustrations, kind of illustrating basically what a crush might look like. You see two young men standing guard, in outside of a palace, and some young ladies are walking by, and naturally, we want to impress, by standing straight and maybe saying hi or whatever, so so basically a crush is like, for young boys, they may feel like butterflies in the stomach, and their heart is going to beat faster every time they see that person or that girl, right? And he may just likes the girl for her looks, how she moves, maybe how she speaks. We've all been there, and sometimes it's a temporary feeling, or sometimes it might even lead into a dating relationship. And it's pretty normal to like a girl, but it's not normal to be obsessive about it. And young boys should know to not make someone that they like feel uncomfortable or disrespected, or maybe or treated like an object, and they should be careful to not let it be a problem in their daily life, maybe in their schoolwork, in their home, and their mental health, And sometimes people have a crush on someone that's already in a relationship or married. So we have to talk about, hey, we can't cross those boundaries in terms of if someone's already married or whatever, to to be trying to approach them, and maybe young boy or guy may try to talk to a girl he has a crush on, to let them know, and let them, they be trying to, see if that other person is also interested. Then mutually they may decide to start a dating relationship, or maybe it will not, and then the boys will have to learn to move on if that lady is not interested, and not be depressed or obsessive about it, and if they do have a problem, maybe they can speak to an elder person, a trusted mentor, a parent, a spiritual leader, if they have if for some reason their crush is affecting their mental health or their daily life or their decisions, and even personally, like I have a younger friend, a guy friend who he comes to me and he tells me about girls that he has crushes on, and he asks for like advice on what I think he should do, or if he should say anything, and so I would give some advice and say, well, hey, maybe try to ask her out for coffee or something, try not to be weird about it, and if she says no, well, fine, you just kind of move on, and at one point he actually did ask actually, it was a couple of young ladies that he liked, and two at separate times, and he did ask them for coffee, and they turned him down, and but he was able to be feel kind of satisfied that he at least tried and was able to move on, so it's just one example that I put there. Then we have dating, we kind of put our best foot forward and we try to look our best and everything. This is just one of my illustrations from one of my books here, about people kind of going into action here. And so dating, basically trying to spend time with someone that we probably had a crush on before, that we liked, caught the young man's attention, and so so I have here a simple crush may lead to dating if the feelings are mutual between the two, and dating, personally, I think it should be for the purpose of leading into marriage or long-term relationship, because in today's societies, in today's society, particularly in the West, people, some people, they just date for fun or for pleasure or for having sex. They have multiple partners and they think, well, I'm single, so I can have relationships or sex with anyone that I want to, but as our brother was speaking earlier from India, how it is affecting our young boys with this kind of mentality, and it's kind of it's concerning that we think it's okay to have multiple partners, and then we have to, then not considering the where if the young lady becomes pregnant, or what if there's like sexually transmitted diseases and stuff like that, so yeah, so a dating relationship can lead to marriage and true love, right? The two people that are dating in a dating relationship should set boundaries on how far they agree to go physically, psychologically, and spiritually, right? And this is where in dating, where the two determine whether they are compatible or not to live, for the rest of their life, or if they're compatible to start a family, right? This is where they share their values in life, share where they have to determine if they share the same values, if they share the same religious beliefs, whether or not religion is an important factor in their life or not, do they have the same culture or understand and can live with the other person's culture or background. You know, different cultures can be a great and interesting, or it can be confusing and misunderstanding, right? So, you know, some people of different faiths, they do come together and get married and have kids, and they seem to live happily. And some people prefer to marry someone that's within their faith, you know. So, you know, these things we have to consider, you know, for the young, you know, those of you that have children on the panel here, you know, whether you want someone, you know, to be in the same religion, same denomination or whatever, you know. And for some people, it doesn't matter to them, you know. Personally, for me, I prefer that we have, you know, the same or similar belief system, you know, for marriage in that case. Will the dating affect their schoolwork and the, you know, sports activities and other extracurricular activities? And they have to determine if they have similar goals, and do they naturally feel attracted to each other after dating for a while, you know.
Brother Jerome,
yes.
Can I ask you, begin to sum up? I know that you have another slide that's
Yeah, I have one
important.
more. Yeah. Okay, so I just go on to the next one, and then we have love. So in love now, love is, so, you know, a dating relationship can lead, we may realize that, hey, I actually love this person. I want to take care of this person for the rest of my life. You know, I want to be responsible for this girl, or for this woman, and for the kids we're gonna have. You know, in love, you know, you have to show caring, nurturing, responsibility, sacrifice, forgiveness, understanding, compassion, right? It's more than just a physical feeling, and it's now about commitment, or I mean a physical attraction and feelings. It's now a commitment. You know, you still want to continue, you know, in that relationship, you know, to have those that attraction or feelings, but you're committed. They have to be committed now, right? And true love is with true love, even after growing old and you're not physically attractive, you still want to be with that person and take care of them, and that is true love, right? And a strong family unit is beneficial for the health and development of children, according to studies. Okay. So I just have some 10 red flags that young people should look for in girls or in women when you know, when considering dating or considering, you know, marriage. You know, if look out for whether or not she's frequently sarcastic or disrespectful in conversations. If she's insecure and needy. If she has mixed signals, or she's flirting with other men. Look out for whether or not she's rude to like waiters and people that are, you know, that are serving. Does she think that all men are bad? You know, is she always saying, "Oh, all men are bad," or all men are dogs"? You know, is she obsessed with social media and looking for approval and likes all the time? You know, obsessively on social media. If she does not talk much about her past, you know, we barely know anything about her. If she doesn't show any accountability for it's something like that, you know, goes wrong, and she doesn't want to take responsibility, and she wants to blame others, or and if she refuses to negotiate in doing things together, and if she demands to be treated like a queen or princess, without thinking that she has to also respect the boy or the guy, you know. So these things I think they should look for. And lastly, well, some of the green flags that you just look for, if she is if you can be like authentic with around the young lady, to be yourself, you know, if you have similar values, if she's satisfied with only, you know, your attention and not looking for for attention with, for other guys around. If she has enough time, if she's had enough time after her last relationship, to heal and get over whatever happened from the previous relationship, not jump into a relationship too soon. Does she take interest in you or remembers details about you? Is she able to resolve conflict? Is she accountable? Does she has a life outside of relationship? Meaning that she's just depending on, just want to spend time with, clinging on to the guy, 24/7. If she respects you, and then if she challenges you to grow and bring out the best in you. So those are my quick thoughts that I share there.
Jerome, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
What I would really appreciate, and I think all of us would, is if you would be kind enough to send those files to Ola, who then can share them with all of us, and the same with our good doctor from India. Go ahead and send in those slides. But thank you very much. This is
I already sent it to Ola.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Thank you for your contribution. I have to say that it's this kind of a structure that says, all right, this is what you are becoming. These are things you will need to determine when you become on your own and have the real ability to either destroy a life or create a life.
Very true.
And that one that will be created or destroyed will be your very own, first of all. So if I might be bold enough, since I am obviously the oldest person here, I want to give us permission finally to talk about a very delicate thing. We can talk about sexuality and boys, but we need to look at it in a couple of different age categories. Because when I'm speaking as a man, and as a man who's 76 years old, I am still inside a youngster. I understand exactly what all of us have gone through physiologically. Physiologically, we don't have any control. And that's where, as a young boy, it's most confusing. Again, I give us permission now to speak very directly. Once the hormones in adolescence kick in, boys get aroused. They do get erections. The question is, how do I respond to that? That's a huge mystery to most boys because no one's talking about it. Parents don't talk about it. Our religious leaders don't really talk about it. Nobody is counseling this boy. Here's what you're going to expect. This needs to start before they're 10 or 12, and very respectfully, so that they enter this not with a, oh, good, I'm about to be free. No, you're about to take on huge responsibilities of manhood, even though you are 10, 11, 12 years old, because this is what you're about to go through. Let's make sense of it now before we're completely confused and make poor choices. And between the time of puberty and say 18, all of the instructions that Jerome has given us, the cautions that our good doctor friend in India has given us, that all of these, they must be addressed early on by someone the boy respects. Because that's the way a guy works as a kid. Who is my mentor? We are looking for somebody that can show us how. What does it look like to be a man? So it's that delicate era where we go from a kid to a sexually active person. What does that mean? It just means we are functioning and we are out of control. My body is doing things and it's socially inappropriate maybe, but I can't do anything about it. So what am I going to do? Well, a boy needs to be able to make sense about this, and early on. So that's the old man giving his advice, you know, if you don't mind me saying so. We have to look at that reality, that boys feel out of control. They don't understand what the hormones are doing. They see the physical changes in their bodies, and some of those changes happen so automatically and so instantly. It's not like I have a crush on you. It's like, uh-oh, something's going on. Now how am I supposed to respond? Oh, I guess I've seen animals. I guess we are supposed to do the same thing. Whatever that is, there is a sense that we need to teach them early and be with them as men early on to usher them through. How do we do that? That's the challenge. That's boys' challenge, boys' future.
Yeah.
Young enough to make an impression when they are old enough to become responsible men. Ola, should we have the wrap up or what? Let's have some other people, please.
Yes, thank you, thank you,
Yes.
thank you, sir. You actually are hitting the nails as you begin to explore this particular topic. I get to bring Faith back to have to make a presentation on one of the topics. So let's have Faith Nashipai give us 10 minutes of presentation. And I was seeing one Mr. Henry Cobb, he hasn't left. So I would love to have his contribution too. And Dr. Cantata as well. And Liz Phone, I don't know who this person is. If you be able to make input into this contribution too, we'll appreciate it. So Faith, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ola, and thanks for being very patient with me. I noticed my internet is fluctuating. I hope you can hear me clearly now.
Yes.
Thank you, my brother. So, ladies and gentlemen, I first want to appreciate Ola. We have a representation of the office of our second lady here in Kenya. A lady by the name Dr. Elizabeth is in the house, and with our office of the second lady, we have a spouse of the Deputy President of Kenya. We have a very beautiful initiative that is talking about the boy child. Her Excellency is very passionate about the lives of the boys in Kenya, and she has come out strongly. She has been talking about the boy, and just early this month, my organization, together with government and her office, we organized a side event at the Commission for Women Status. This is a UN forum that brings together actors in gender. So this is part of the, it's like the cradle of gender issues in the world. And we were able to bring out the discussion around the boy child and men and how we are supposed to engage them in matters to do with gender equality. So it is not all gloom. There is a lot of hope, and I want to applaud that great office because we are getting a lot of support as Kenya. I also want to appreciate my sisters. I noticed at the beginning we didn't have sisters. I have seen someone called Grace. I have seen Sue. I have seen someone else. So I really appreciate all of us as ladies who are in the house. I just want to go very quickly so that I don't chew on my time. And I will combine something to do with sexual aggression and violence. And I will also, yes, Liz. Yes, Daktari.
I just want to introduce myself. The previous speaker asked me to introduce myself. My phone is Liz phone, and therefore, thank you for giving us a brilliant introduction. And yes, I want to affirm that the Office of the Spouse of the Deputy President is leading the campaign to ensure that boy child is given a voice in the country and globally. And yes, we partner with the Thriving Communities Africa to be able to achieve that particular mission that Her Excellency is forging. And so I just want to let the group know that my name is Dr. Elizabeth, and I work with the spouse of the Deputy President Kenya as the Director Programs, and I'm keenly listening and see what I can take away from these discussions. I'm very impressed, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. It's a great honor to have you.
Faith,
yes, Ola, you want to come on?
Yes, let me just briefly respond to the lead from the office of the Deputy President of Kenya. Ma, you're welcome, and we honor your presence today, and we also appreciate the contribution the office is doing to lead this discussion at the global level from the regional perspective. And we are happy to be part of what you're doing in Kenya. And we look forward to having you and the wife of the Deputy President on this platform soon, so we can bring the work together for a great discussion. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my brother, and we are honored for that invitation. We are willing to participate in the next as panelists in the next discussions or conversations. But thank you very much.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daktari. I truly appreciate your being available for this session. I know your schedule is really tight, but I appreciate that you've honored us with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll go back to what I was supposed to maybe present. And this is just a patch up because we had speakers and we noticed that our speakers are not available. But we were to talk about love and sex. And then we were also to talk about sexual aggression and violence in boys. So my colleague Jerome has already spoken about love and very well defined love. So I look at love as part of affection, and it is expressed in different ways as he has put it. But when it comes to sex, it's purely a physical engagement. However, this physical engagement has a lot of impact in the life of a human being, because yes, the physical is connecting, but then you realize that beyond the physical, there is a lot of connection of emotions, and there is a lot of connection of souls in the process of having sex. So the challenge with our boy is that he does not understand why he's even having sex. I was doing a forward the other day of a friend's book, and he was talking about a few discussions around what men discuss with women, about women, behind the women's backs. And when I looked at the book, the truth of the matter is that I realized that sex is like dopamine to a man. That really, it's like a hormone. It's the release of hormones, yes. And the process of the release of hormones brings a lot of release. There is ecstasy right there. There is excitement right there. There is all these beautiful feelings. At the end of the day, when the boy goes through that, what are we telling him? If he's just doing it for pleasure, if he's just doing it for the sake of doing it, and he's not looking at the consequences, then we have not trained the boy in the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, when we look at mental health and we look at the neurotic process, and we look at the neurons and the hormones that are released in the process of sexuality, you can tell me that that is truly a way of getting someone excited. In that case, when it comes to sexual aggression, there is a thin line between that excitement, sexual aggression, and violence. Because when someone wants to take a drug per se, someone doesn't have money to buy drugs, they'll have to steal to get that drug. So the thin line comes in, where if we have not trained the boy how to control, how to manage, how to live, how to delay this gratification of excitement and ecstasy, the reality is that he will fall into the process of sexual aggression, pushing another person to make sure that they gratify their desire. So then we have sexual aggression and violence right there. And therefore, I want to present to us that it is important that we train our boys. As folks had mentioned earlier, and I appreciate what he said, that we need to train the boy that when all these hormones come up, when the realities of his physiology is speaking to him, what does he do? How does he control himself? And I want to put this question across to all of us because I notice we are having men in the house. And these are people who have matured and they've gone through seasons and life. And yes, even teenagehood was part of them. And I can tell you in generations that I have lived and I've been honored to live in, this is the generation that is having sex the most. The truth that a teenager could have had sex more than a married person is real today. So the question I want to ask us, and maybe we can post on our wall we can begin to post as we get into the plenary. We can begin to post and say and put down our suggestions of what is this that we need to help the boy do? What is this that a man can do to control his urge? Remember, at the beginning I said, the biggest appetite that a man can be able to control and he's successful is his sexual appetite. If he can control that, he can take on the world. So if our sons can control their sexual appetite, they will take on the world in the right way. And they will protect their sisters, they will be great people, and they will bring honor to us, their parents. So let's begin, maybe sharing or even raise your hand. If you can raise your hand, I will see you. I'm waiting for hands to be raised so that we can get to know. And I'm really happy that we are having Dr. Msole in the house from Tanzania, because I know he has been very instrumental in coming up with a male engagement policy for health or reproductive health in Tanzania. So I am looking forward to learning from you, Daktari. I have seen a comment from Grace. Thanks, Faith. It is a pleasure to be here. I am a marriage and family therapist and a mother of 2 boys. Very informative session. Thanks a lot, Grace, for joining us. I appreciate you, my sister. I don't know whether we have someone who wants to raise their hand and just tell us, the men in the house, how can a boy control himself? Because I talk to boys, but I'm not a boy. How do I tell my sons? How does Grace tell her sons to control? What is this strategy or method that a boy can use to control his sexual urge? Just like our friend Fox mentioned, he's our papa, as Ola calls him.
Yeah, actually,
someone to raise their hand.
I'll speak for my own self, and I appreciate the fact that yes, I'm a baba. Okay, that's fine. Here's my statement. Here's my simple statement.
Mm-hmm.
How do you teach a boy to control himself? Mm-hmm. More through example than any words you can possibly tell.
Wow.
You must have a living, breathing example that the boy respects and honors. One that will take the boy hand on shoulder and say, young man, this is what life is all about. From now on, your life is changing. And this is what you can expect. You have great responsibilities that are coming to you, whether you want them or not. It's called development. You are growing up. To become a man physically does not mean you're going to become a man emotionally and as a family man. Here are some cautions, here are some joys. But here is a step-by-step way of, in our culture, of moving forward. Well, you must have that. I know that I'm just going to bring this up. It's very difficult for a woman to adequately understand from the male aspect what the hormonal responses are. It is global. it wipes out every sense of good sense and logic. It becomes its own logic, just like a drug. So starting before the onset and continuing this on with a man figure or a mother figure, if that is what's available. And in so many of our communities, there are no fathers left. They've all gone on because they have not trained. I will say one other thing. In my work as a therapist, and I've taken on a lot of Taoist qualities, I think, ancient Chinese wisdom, because it's exactly the same as quantum physics is talking about today. And I will say this. One of the great sages that's alive now, Thich Nhat Hanh, he said, for a man to really survive sexuality,
shall I come in, sir? Then
it's necessary for you to be able to take that energy, which
shall
is
I?
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, Tangarasu.
It's necessary to take that energy and raise that energy up into your heart and not keep it down in your genitalia. There is a process that can allow a boy to say, oh, let me understand this a little bit differently and move forward. Until you're 18, you really need to have that example and support. You can do this. Here's what we expect in our culture. You can do it. Do a good job. Not make them wrong. Not make them less than because they don't understand it, or don't just leave them alone and try to figure it out. That's our problem in the West. Nobody teaches us anything. Nobody talks about anything like this. This is a conversation that is uniquely happening because of Ola had the courage to say, let's start the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Faith.
Thank you so much, folks. The problem that problem is a disease that is global, leaving the boys to make up life on their own and not explaining anything to them. It's a global problem. Back to you, Ola. Let me hear from you as we also get to hear from Daktari from India.
No, Tangarasu actually answered that question in his presentation. Maybe you weren't on when he was making his presentation. That's why I want to actually bring him back, because he tried to explain to us that you become sex doesn't make you a man. You know, he made Dr. Tanzararu. Can you come back on that, please?
Yes, Dr. Tangarasu, it's your moment.
Yeah. See, the best thing is that by the age of 13, 12, 13, he is to be introduced with a lot of sporting activities. He is to be introduced with his own responsibilities. And if he is if he is uncontrollable, or he is somewhere a manageable being by his father, it has to be more of a father who should always make a call that he should understand his responsibilities and the effects of making a sex or sexual activity, physical connectivity, that is to be given to him as an education. Or as the previous panelist said, examples are to be shown to him. He should be introduced. He should be given correct education, what to do, what not to do. He should be understanding. He will definitely understand when he is given with a holding hand. That's good actually to have good to have a father and son walking and talking about his life, his passion, his own interests, styles, differences. All these things a father has to introduce to him in time before even teen starts. That is what my take in that case. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear from Obed, and then we are going to hear from, we're also going to hear from Jerome. What is this one thing that you think should be done, we should train our boys to do?
Don't forget Ishmael is here too.
Oh yeah, Ishmael, please. So we'll have Obed, Ishmael, Jerome, and then Ishmael.
Thank you, Faith. I think I want to look at what everyone has just contributed towards in the name of helping our young men understand their sexuality in a better way. However, we need to look at the root cause of the problem. We need to understand where did we go wrong and how did we go wrong so that we can rectify that. A young boy from the age of 5 to around age 12, when they really need a lot of passion and a lot of connection with a male figure in their life, we are missing that. And we need to look at the developmental stage of the child and understand, then are we looking at the parenting gap? Do we need to address the parenting gap and bring it to speed so that we're able to help the young child and the boy so that he is able to develop as it should be? Number 2, from experience, when you sit down with a young man and you ask a young man of today, what is the one thing that you learned from the old generation? They'll say, yes, we have observed them neglect us and stay far away from us. So we must come close to them and bet to their level. Sometimes it is not bad to just be there for your son and support him. So the mentorship program that we need to introduce to our young people should be a program that is informed by both character and that is very focused in terms of what kind of information do we want to disseminate to the young generation and what is it that we want to see in the future. Because unless we have a structured form of a program that is going to shape them, then we might not get it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Obed. We move to Jerome.
Yeah, okay, so for me, how it's worked for me, it was through my community, my church community, and having good male examples in my life, and having my own conviction from what I was taught, about the consequences of how do I put it? The consequences of just having sex with anyone.
Sexual impurity?
Specifically, from a Christian point of view, sex before marriage. I know not everyone is going to be the same way or whatever, but just from being taught certain verses in the Bible and Scripture, the Old and New Testament, and seeing the consequences of people, whether in the Scripture or in real life, who have either had sex too early and had kids too early, how it messed up their life trajectory sometimes, and even what it has to do with even like adultery, like having relationships with someone that you're not married with or someone else's spouse, so just having that conviction, being taught that conviction, and having that personal conviction within me that I do not want to do anything wrong, and seeing examples of men around me, even some of my peers that waited until marriage, they had, they had relationship. I mean, they had, and then they, we had our counselors or pastors, some people have priests or whatever, your rabbi, or whoever, to counsel you and, to, in terms of being pure and being modest and trying to live your life in front of, you know, the Most High, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how it worked for me. Of course, it hasn't been perfect. You know, I'm human, you know, and sometimes we have feelings, urges, but sometimes you're tired of waiting, you know, to be honest. But I think what we're just trying to get at here is not having young boys start too early, boys and girls start too early. That's the point, you know. It was one thing as an adult, we can choose, you know, whatever we want, no matter, you know, depending, you know, whatever we believe or whatever, but it's detrimental when you start too early, you know. You know, so yeah, that's my point.
Thank you so much, Jerome, and kudos to your parents. They have done a wonderful job with a young or a great man in you. Allow me to just go through the text as I usher in Ishmael. Dr. Elizabeth says the boys could be helped to survive the negative sexual drive by starting early child and youth sexual counseling in schools and churches. And I want to confirm this, that it is working with Thriving Communities Africa. We have a program called Nitasimama Imara for boys in schools, and we are doing a great job there. And I also know that Ola, who will speak about what he does, he's doing community strategy on boys, on being a man, and that is something that I know he will mention. Again, our my great colleague, who's a therapist in marriage and family, Grace here in Kenya, says fathers sharing their own struggles and successes during their own childhood dealing with sexuality. When parents take the initiative to teach, coach, mentor, and guide their boys, it increases the ability to interact with the information. Very true. I have seen it with my own 3 wonderful sons. Then she's also added, for fathers to take up this initiative, they would need to explore and process and heal their own sexuality and own sexual trauma or relational trauma. That is the relationship and the traumas that were brought about by the relationship between the father and the mother. That is more of parental wounds. And I like that because Fox had tried to mention that earlier when he was doing a little bit of some conclusion. But before I do that, I say anything else, allow me to bring on Ishmael, the guy who's been quiet and behind the scene.
Yeah, that's how I like it. I like to be behind the scenes. But my feelings to the matter is that as men, I'm not a father, but a father must have a relationship with their son, just like a mother has a relationship with their daughter. You got to make the uncomfortable conversation comfortable. You can't come in with what is that old story, the birds and the bees. That's not going to work anymore. You have to be open. You have to be transparent. You have to show them the reality of cause and effect. And then also one thing too, I want to bring to light. I know we touched on a little bit that I hope we don't criminalize emotions. You know, when you get into like the topic of same sex, I don't want I don't want society to criminalize the way people feel, boys feel. And on top of that, what that leads into is violence. What's going to happen is you'll have a situation where you're going to have groups that will justify brutality on young men or young girls that that feels differently emotionally. So I just wanted to add that to it too. But that's my piece.
Lovely. Thank you, Ishmael, because for sure, show the boy that his normal physiological expressions are wrong, which is not
Oh, we actually have him. Okay, you're back.
Last point, a little bit of a wrap up before Msole to come in and do a technical wrap.
Sister Faith, Sister Faith, I'm sorry, we have lost you again. I'm sorry, but we're not.
So that you can come in and conclude the session. Is that okay, Ola?
So, Dr. Cantata,
yes, please,
yeah, Dr. Cantata is meant to come in now. We are actually making use of his time right now. But I just like us to on our videos to take it. So if you can on your video for 1 minute, please do it, just to take a group photograph of this. For those of us that are here now, I would like to take a screenshot of this. Please, if you can on your video, that would be well appreciated. Just for 1 minute, please.
sure.
Okay. Sue, Liz, can you please on your, yeah, if you can, we will make do with what we have now. Thank you. Done.
Perfect, Ola. Thank you so much. Hi, Dr. Msole.
Oh, Dr. Liz is just coming in. Please just hold on, please. I think I missed that.
Oh, you want another one, Ola?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
We love photos.
This is important to us. We thank you. We really appreciate that moment. Miss Grace, I will need to really speak with you after this event. I will need your contact. And Dr. Liz, I will need your contact as well. I hope I'll get that from Faith. But like Faith, let me, before I bring in Dr. Cantata for 1 minute, what I see is like differentiating activities from real love is important for our boys. But one of the topics I want us to explore in maybe in the next discourse or about is that, you know, there are at times a boy is being manipulated very early in life. And this is done primarily by women or other male to abuse them early. And it takes a boy or a child that has been sexually abused that want to take that aggression on another fellow girl when they grow up. So that aspect too, we need to talk about it as an adult. There are women who takes on boys of 12, and these women are in their 40s, some in their 50s. Dr. Cantata, how do you respond to that?
I missed the last point you were saying.
Yeah, I was the women that really take advantage of budding or upgrowing young boys. You know, sometimes they pretend or they portray themselves as being caring towards these boys, but their intention is to take sexual advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and sometimes do happens. But what I would say, we are missing the most important component, especially in parenting, the role of father, the fatherhood, the role of father. Do we have quality time to speak with young boys? From this discussion, especially when we are speaking about boy sexuality, it's of paramount significance to think about the timing. How much do we invest? How much do we use our time to talk to a boy child? And my philosophy is tell, show, do. We tell them, we show them, and then at the end of the day, we do it. And later on, we'll do it together with them. So like what folks have said previous, they need to have living examples. Men, we have a role, particularly in the community, to create a circle of influence in the community. At the family level, a father should be a role model. When they go to the community, they should find uncles and the other community members, men in the society who are role model also, and they support them. But at the same time, when they go to the institution, like one of my previous has mentioned, she has mentioned about from the beginning in institutions like schools, in religious setting, in the mosque, in the churches, we need to set spaces, we need to set content which will inspire a boy child and provide clear guidance. And whatever I'm saying, even at the national level, do we have policies? Do we have guidelines? Do we have standard operating procedures which are speaking about how should we rearing a boy child? When they need support, where should they go and get such kind of support? As a government, as a communities, do we have spaces where boys can go and sit and talk and ask in a friendly ways when they have problem? You know, as men, as a boy child, when I was growing as a boy child, at the same time here I have a boy. You know, I'm looking at him, the way we are interacting. He's sometimes he has a lot of problems, and he's looking where to go and address or seek assistance from those problems which he has. So he's lucky because I'm the father of such kind. So please come, and sometimes he even bring his friends. That, you know, one of my friends is having this kind of problem. Then let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think these are the kind of stuff we need to do at the end of the day. So what I can share from what I've heard from all they have made here, for example, the Sima Maimara project, I brilliant. I really love the way they're doing the stuff in the community. And particularly, they are talking about the influence of the circles, the cycle of influence in the community, and where we can promote positive sexual behaviors, and at the same time we can address those negative behavior, particularly the ones, I was a bit, I really feel very bad, especially in the area of indulgence of sexual activities for a boy. I am happy to hear from India, for example. Doc was speaking about they are starting at the age of 15, 14 age, but in some communities they're starting a bit earlier. The frequency of doing sex, I think Nash was speaking about the boy child nowadays, they are doing much more sexy compared to the ones who are the mans who are in the marriage. This is too bad. So we need to find ways, alternatives, where these boys, when they're urged, what can they do to stop that urge? Or what can they do alternative instead of just going and do that activity? I like the definition of love and sex. You see, the connections, and this is very important for our kids to tell them, when you do sex, that means it is a physical activity, and then there are a lot of connections. Nash is spoken about the spirit, spoken about the connection of blood and things like that, and the list. That means what I want to talk about here, the list which is associated when you do penetrative sex at the end of the day. The boy child need to know this from the beginning and to get the alternatives. And even if it happens, sometimes they do it accidentally. If they have some problem, we need also to tell them what they should do it different, or where should they go to seek for consultations and get the services. So for sure, I really appreciate these sessions. It was really inspiring. Nash has mentioned one thing which is happening. I'm championing here in the country. As a country, you see, as a medical practitioner, I come to realize most of the men, when they come to their hospital, particularly in the issues related to sexuality, they come at the late stage. And we come to realize even our facilities are friendly for accessing the service, but many are not coming there. So what has the main cause of underutilization of these services? And one of us has mentioned that most of the problem which women they do face is a consequence of the behavior of the men which have been doing at the end of the day. So I have initiated a movement, first of all, to ensure that the healthcare providers, especially the male one, to ensure at the end of the day, they send a kind of message to the community when they get any sort of intervention or opportunity to talk with the community, that it's very important for them, for the men to go and access the services. But in order to ensure that these services are available, we have launched a movement whereby now we are writing a guideline for providing services for men when they are coming at the facility to access the services. This guideline is intending to build the skills for the service provider. You know, to provide a service for a male client needs some specific skills at the end of the day as well. But at the same time, to ensure that a male client, when he's coming to the facility, needs to have a space, a friendly environment, which could be supportive for him to make sure that he can stay there without any problem and things like that, and comply with what is being asked at the end of the day. So we are developing a curriculum, a guideline, which we are getting a great support from the government for reproductive and male engagement, for engagement of male clients in reproductive health services and maternal health. I think that would be great. And we are looking at it from the philosophical point of view that men as a partners, men as a client, but men as an agent of change. They have a role in the community. If they are well informed, they have very nice content, they can transform as a role model the community in addressing issues like health for themselves. And the key message we are telling them is self-care. And one of the things, they need to love themselves. They need to feel, they need to know that they need to love themselves. They need to embrace, you see it, to embrace those positive behaviors which will protect their health. And in their spaces, we need also to create spaces for them where they will speak about positive stuffs, from negative masculinity to positive masculinity discussion and things like that. So I think that's my contribution. Thank you very much,
awesome.
colleagues. Yeah,
awesome, Dr. Msole. We truly appreciate you. And I like what you're doing in Tanzania. I know we'll be able to borrow something from there. Ladies and gentlemen, definitely. I also want to appreciate the presence of Judy, Marion, and Wairimu, and also the Real Dads Network, who've been a great support in this path, in this process and this journey that we've come all along. With that, without much ado, I said my name is Faith Nashipaya. For them that have come in later, I am the Men and Boys Ambassador. I believe in mentoring and empowering men and boys to become the better versions of themselves, and to also ensure that we are having a better generation tomorrow. And finally, I am the lead of Thriving Communities Africa, where we work with men for sustainable social transformation. I want to thank my brother and my colleague Ola as I will the floor to him. Thank you so much, my bro, for risking this session with me. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Faith.
Let's do this more.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you more. One thing I take from Dr. Cantata was positive sexual behavior. How do we promote it in boys? It's a topic for another day entirely. Promoting positive sexual behavior in boys is a topic, because when we have a strategy that can work, others work with us, like what Jerome shared, this is what we need to explore as we continue this conversation, because this is not a conversation we can flog one time. So next month, we will continue with that topic, Dr. Cantata, and you'll be giving us a presentation too. And I want to extend to Ms. Liz too, from that department in Kenya, promoting positive sexual behavior in boys, as a solution to gender aggression, violence, sexual violence in young men and young boys. So that would give us a good opportunity to explore this topic more. So I'm not changing the theme. We'll continue this conversation in April. You will agree with that? Can we make that possible? Everyone can on your microphone. I just want us to understand. If you agree that we should continue with that, can we? Yeah.
Ola, I think it's a great topic. Because, it's unfortunate when we are growing as a part of socializations, we are told very unhealthy messages. We are trained very negative sexual behaviors as an indication of being man, which is very wrong. So we need to tell boys that's very wrong.
Yes. And this is what the boys need to learn. How do I develop positive sexual behaviors? So for them to get that, we need to promote it as an adult. So, and it's a community thing. So I want to thank you. Like I said, I'm Ola Akinwe, founder Boys Mentoring and Advocacy Network for Africa, and is registered in Nigeria and also incorporated in the USA. So like Faith also said, one of our flagship program is called the Being a Man program. The idea of being a man is to have what Dr. Cantata said, a community center where men will be available for positive distractions for the boys. And the idea is very simple. We may not have the opportunity to transform the entire boys in our community, but we'll be working with 50 to 100 boys in a 9-month program of the year, and they will meet every week with this group of men by modeling the right behaviors and bringing in the right examples. Because what I found that, like what Dr. Cantata said in his conclusion, was that how much time do we actually have to talk with these boys? Do we really have enough time with them? So, and to create that time, we need to create spaces in our different communities. For instance, if I'm not available, who is the man within my community that will be available, and these boys are coming there and they're ready to, okay, we want to pour our mind to. Because I do know from experience, if I don't trust a man, how will I open up my heart to him? So it's going to be a center where boys had the opportunity to build trust and relationship. So like Jerome said, the key to this is developing positive relationships. Now, from my understanding, if you look at the word mentorship, in conclusion, in closing, you see men at the beginning in that word, MEN. Mentor, empower, nurture. Let's say that's the man. Now, the tour is like you are taking a tour. T-O-R-T-O-U-R. There's a journey. Men taking boys on a journey. So the journey is the relationship. That is why mentorship. A ship is taking the goods from a destination to another destination. So we are taking these boys from the position of our maturity. Because one of the things we need to understand very well, as I put this to a close, who is actually a boy? How do we define who a boy is in the first place? A biological male, fine. A little brother that is immature, that lacks a good sense of judgment. So when we understand the characteristics that make a boy, and we want to build that character from our own maturity point of view, that is where we can help these young men and young boys to become the men they ought to be in society. So it is going from next month, I'm going to have this house back in full. The flyer will go out on time. We need to promote positive sexual behavior in boys. Lead discussant, Dr. Cantata from Tanzania, and Madam Liz from Kenya. And I want also to thank the counselor, Madam Grace. I saw your text messages. I mean, your text you drop on the chat. That was powerful. The chat is rich, and I tell you, I'm going to make as possible use of this conversation. Thank you so very much. We love you. I feel like I should just make this like you are in my house in Nigeria, and I'm able to serve you maybe kind of dinner, meals to enjoy together. But as we part in peace. And by the special grace of Almighty God and the blessings of the universe, I want to tell you, I love you from my heart, and I appreciate you all. I deeply appreciate your contributions, and hopefully we see again in April. Thank you.
Thank you,
Love you
Ola.
back, brother.
Thank you, Ola.
Love you right back.
Thank everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Ola.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, everyone.
Tangarasu.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
And
Nice
you.
to
Madam
meet you
Grace,
all.
thank you.
Thank you.
Judy,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yes,
Goodbye.
good to see you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Cantata, you just want to fire us up in this topic because it's not of the truth. It's not something we can finish in one day.